All right. Before we get started here, do we want to run down through the pre-podcast checklist? Electricity,
Check.
running water,
Check.
internet,
Check.
hobo with a knife.
Check. Cable.
All right. Cable.
Check.
I think we're good to go. Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. This is the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 80, and we are up and running after a fun Sunday of the first Sunday of the NFL season, and we spent it
mad,
screaming at a blank television, lights that were out, internet that didn't work, water that ran but very slowly for a period of time. That was confusing. That was the first time that's happened.
And that kind of made us not want to leave the house. We weren't sure what was going on there.
Yeah.
So you only get one opening NFL Sunday of the year. If it was ever going to be a day, why did it have to be that day? So annoying. So longtime listeners of the podcast, you guys know at this point, are you keeping track? Are you keeping score? Should I do a old style Subway punch card? If we mention our power being out again a certain number of times, they could turn that in for a We Watch TV prize, because you probably have 50 of them by now. We've talked about our power being out how many times on this podcast?
I've lost track.
At least 5 times probably. I have lost track as well.
We haven't been going for a full year, by the way. We have not been, or 2 years. We have not been podcasting for 2 whole years yet, and we're talking at least 5 times we've had
minimum
power outages that hit the radar of us talking about it on the podcast. Because let's be fair, we'll have the power will flick.
We've had way more than what we've
every
talked
couple
about.
weeks. The power will just flick off for a few seconds and come back on.
So there was no bad weather. It was once again somebody driving, probably not the best.
At least they didn't hit the same pole that they usually do.
Yeah,
it was a different pole this time.
But it really seemed to have screwed something up. So everybody on our road sometimes will drive like a maniac. Let's just call it what it is. I think I heard it at about 4 a.m, but it was whatever. I was up anyway. I feel like I always have to get up and pee. I'm like an old man. So I have to do my 3 a.m., my 4 a.m. pee anyway. I'm like, okay. And then we got up to give Marvin his breakfast, and we noticed that the power had been off. And we're like, okay, it's back on. And then we noticed the water was weird after the power went off a second time. So we fall back asleep.
Yeah.
Wake up again, no power. And then the water is being weird, not a lot of pressure.
It was just low pressure, yeah. It was still running. It was just very low pressure, which was strange. That's the first time we've had, usually the power goes out, the water's fine, because it's on its own backup system.
You got the double whammy this time.
This time, it was not fine. We find out later when I drove, because we're curious, we're those people now. I drove down the road and went through the traffic that was caused by the wreck to try and see what was going on. And it at that point the power was back, but the water company was down there working on a line next to where the pole had been. So clearly the pole had been leveraged under the ground or something and kicked the water line. I don't know what happened. It was crazy.
Well, we knew about more of the water too, what was going on, because when our water started working like normal, I was like, you know what? I'm going to check to see if we're in a boil water advisory, which our house just was a few houses short of being included in that. Now, Mr. Marvin is still drinking like a cane because he's getting bottled water, because if anything, society has taught me never trust anyone. So I'm sure he likes his bottled water.
That's safe. That's healthy.
But yeah, we've had the power go out so many times, but we've had enough incidences that's really bothered us that we've talked about it. And this particular one was annoying. Now, the water thankfully was working at its normal pace and it was fine. And then the power finally comes back on, and I'm already just mad. I'm like, well, you know what? I had to miss kickoff at the Steelers game. My game was the 1 o'clock game or whatever. The Browns didn't play till the 3:30 game, right?
Yeah, the 4:30.
So, and I was like, well, you don't get to watch the beginning. I was like, you're going to have to go to another room. I was like, I had to miss my kickoff. You have to too.
It's funny how you were operating under the entire day.
I
was looking forward to watching the Browns. I'm sorry.
Why is it my
game
of
I was going to watch them, but I wasn't looking forward to them.
I'm like, that's not fair. Tell me everything is not about me. But what if it is? And then, so I turn it on. I'm like, fine. I'm like already disgruntled, and it's just my
It
whole
was about
mood.
2:00 in the afternoon, by the way. The power did finally come back
My
on.
whole mood is shifted. Like, I'm just in a bad mood. So I'm like, whatever. So I turn it on, and I see, we get the field goal. Awesome. Love it. Apparently, like, I know nothing about what happened in the game. I haven't looked it up. I know that Fields was in it. I know that our kicker was just like the best ever, but I haven't really heard many positive things, but the Steelers did win. So I watched them for about 2 seconds.
You watched them kick the field goal to make it a 1-point game right before halftime.
Right before halftime. I go do whatever, go to the bathroom. I don't know what I was doing. Obviously, it was halftime. I'm like, whatever. I'm going to go change, and I'm going to sit down and finally enjoy this day since I had to miss the first half of the game. We're finally going to enjoy Football Sunday. We were very happy that we slept in. We chose to do that, but we didn't get any of the other benefits of the relaxing day. So then we come out, and suddenly, like, the TV's dark, and we're like, wait, what? And then our internet's not working. And the cable's not working. Because sometimes we've had it where the internet doesn't work, but we still have the cable. Most of the time, I feel like they don't work together. But we have had cases where it does, one works and the other doesn't. So we don't know why the internet's out. We don't know why.
We still don't know. We still don't know.
We
don't know.
I don't know if it was related.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. We wish we did know. No estimated time of when it's going to come back. So, like, we've had this happen before where we haven't had it for like 3 days. And we're like, okay, what is going on? So we're both just extremely stressed out about that, annoyed. And I'm like, well, I guess you're going to miss your game too. Even though you're still not really a Browns fan because of Watson, right?
Yeah, but it looks.
But you were going to watch it in rage.
It's
anyway.
looking like that the Watson era may be ending very soon. So.
And the Jameis Winston is going to be era again. Didn't he like what's the crab legs joke?
I don't know, and I don't want to know. So please don't enlighten me.
Anyway, so we decide to try to watch games with an antenna. You will see if you are a We Watch TV podcast Instagram follower what the Steelers game was able to look like for the 2 seconds that we got it. A mess. Now we were able to get the Bengals game up, no sound, but the picture looked good. The Bengals, on the other hand, did not look good.
Boy, that looked embarrassing.
They played bad. So but you know what? Even though I didn't get to see it, I'd be remiss not to say that the Steelers are first place in the AFC North. We're the only team that won. I'll enjoy it while I can. Or not, because I didn't get to watch it, because once again, my power went out. But you know what else when it comes to power, Daniel? You've been watching a TV show without me. So let's talk about the Reigns of Power.
Hey, that was a good transition. You're going to take my job.
I like high five, right?
So I watched the first episode of season 2 of the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. That is Amazon's strange rights situation where they're trying to make a new Lord of the Rings show, but they barely have any rights to it, and it's a very odd situation.
Is it weekly released
right
now?
It's weekly. So they released, I think, the first 3 episodes, and the 4th has since come out. I'm just behind.
Are you one episode behind?
No, I've only watched 1 episode. There are 4 episodes out right now.
How long was that episode?
That episode was 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Because I was doing some work for my Travelmation job. By the way, hit me up, guys, if you want to take a Disney cruise, a Royal Caribbean cruise, you want to go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, I can help you book your trip for free. Shameless plug.
Can you take me to Middle-earth?
I probably could book you a trip to New Zealand.
I want to go to the Shire.
Because I don't just do Disney, but I specialize in Disney destinations.
I want to go to the Shire and recover from having watched The Rings of Power.
Anyway, I could probably do that. Shameless plug. But I'm in there. I'm doing some work on that for well over an hour. Was it an over an hour episode? I'm hearing singing. I'm like, what are they doing?
Hey, now wait a second. I actually like that. I
like the music. I ended up turning down like my podcast that I was listening to because I was enjoying hearing like the singing from Rings of Power in the other room without any context.
Shout out, and I don't know the name of the actor, but the actor who played the character that sang learned the Elvish to actually do it himself instead of have a voice instead of have a double do the actual singing. He learned how to speak Elvish, then how to sing in Elvish, then how to sing that song.
From hearing it from a room down the hallway when I'm trying to book vacations for people, I'm like, what is going on? I almost went out there and like watched it with you.
It's better than 1 episode. Generally speaking, I enjoyed it. Now, a lot of the episode was, catching you up on where everybody is at since the end of season 1. But I do think in general, I'm a little happier with where they're going with some of it. Some of it was still a little strange. I do have to, the show, this is a me thing. This is a Daniel thing. But people in these shows can just travel wherever they want to go.
Travel, that's one of my questions for you.
As quickly as possible, even though all they've got to ride is a horse.
Is it like the supernatural effect with Sam and Dean's car that
Yes.
suddenly they'd be across the country in like 2 seconds?
Yes. Now maybe because it is Sauron in this case, you can explain that by he is a mythical being that can just move around. I don't know, but yeah, it's just like all they could do is just give me a little bit of a framework of time-wise. Their time has passed, and I would be better.
Yeah.
But my main issue last season was, a life-saving horse ride, basically, that should have taken 3 weeks, and that person would be long dead. But they got there like scene
like
break.
How Game of Thrones in the beginning, when the show was following the books, it would actually take them forever to travel. But then the last seasons, it was like, let's zip on over to King's Landing.
in Game of Thrones season 1, Tyrion is up at the wall.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't make it back to King's Landing till like season 2, maybe even season 3. I can't really remember exactly, but it took forever for him to get back. And Jaime was up there as well in the north, and it took him forever to make it back when he was in Bran were walking. And then seasons, like the later seasons come in, and you got Daenerys, she's flying her dragon around.
And I think that was explained well because of the dragon, but what about everybody else's transportation?
Okay, so
how often do dragons need a break?
Yeah,
travel?
exactly.
Do they have unlimited fuel?
And but via ship, which is how many of them were traveling from north to south. That is not that's still a week or two of travel. So
you could do a whole podcast on
I could do a whole podcast on this with multiple shows that break it, including Star Trek, because some of the newer Star Trek stuff is definitely breaking the travel rules as well. But let's get back to Lord of the Rings. So generally speaking, I'm positive on season 2. I have seen some stuff that is to come in the episodes that are out already, especially Tom Bombadil, and I'm very excited to see how that goes. He's a book character who rightfully Peter Jackson left out of the movies because tonally made no sense. Plot-wise, he has nothing to do with the plot. He never did. He never will. And if he does, I'm going to be mad about it. He should have nothing to do with the plot whatsoever.
So what about the wizards? Did any of them show up that are in Lord of the Rings?
So one of the main storylines right now is a character right now called the Stranger, who fell out of the sky in season 1 and was picked up by the Harfoots, which are like proto-hobbits. And so we don't know, but it's kind of a wink and a nod. It's Gandalf.
That's what I was saying. Gandalf. I was blanking on his name.
Yeah, we all know it's Gandalf, even though they're not saying it's Gandalf.
Now, how do I say the villain's name? Sauron?
Sauron.
Now, in the Lord of the Rings movies, he's not a person or
he's
anything.
Never,
he's just like a voice.
He's never really, you don't see a corporal being. You see, in the very first flashback in the Fellowship, you see him.
Yes.
Fighting. But in the main story, you never see him because he is not in a body. A very high level, angel kind of being. And he's able to take forms, but he has to build back up strength. Does the guy playing
him look like the guy that played him at the beginning?
You didn't see, he was in a mask and all this armor and stuff.
Because from what I've seen, the little you told me,
yeah, it's hot Sauron. It's hot Sauron.
Are we getting enemies to lovers storyline?
I mean, they're not going to be able to take you there because we know where these characters end up, but they sure did their best job in season 1 to take you there.
The girl that he's booing up is
Galadriel.
That's Helen Mirren, not Helen Mirren. What's her
name?
Kate Blanchett. Kate Blanchett. I always get those two confused.
Kate Blanchett played Galadriel in the movies. Yes.
And so that's another character that's on it. Okay.
Yes.
So
now this is 2,500 years before the Lord of the Rings movies.
What's her skincare routine?
So, she's an elf. She can live forever.
So are you excited for the next episode?
Yeah, I haven't continued watching, not because I didn't want to. I just haven't found the time to sit down and watch an hour and 20-minute long episode.
This is your And Just Like That. It's a show that you're like, I'm still going to watch it. I might enjoy it, but I'm still going to complain about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And nitpick it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've also watched some TV together.
We did.
We watched more of the Umbrella Academy. We talked to you guys about the first episode last week that we watched. There are 6 episodes in the season. We are now halfway through because we watched the second and the third episode of the final season of the Umbrella Academy. And I am really enjoying this season. What about you?
Yeah, same. I am. I'm very annoyed at this point about the spoilers.
Yes.
Not just because ultimately knowing the ending is disappointing,
I'm
but
not gonna like it.
but the spoilers led us to delay ourselves from watching it.
Yes, for sure. And when we say spoiled, like we were literally, for me, like that episodes they drop on Netflix, and we're on the East Coast, so we'd have to like stay up really late, which we're not going to do, to see them. And it was like the next day, like the next morning, I just happened to get on TikTok and I saw one of the major spoilers. Then I saw another one, the Five and Lila stuff, a little bit later, but like basically like the main thing about like literally how it ends was spoiled for me in less than probably like 5 hours since the show had been out, which I thought was insane. And I normally try to avoid TikTok and stuff like that on days when like a new show drops, but I thought surely no one's stayed up and watched all of Umbrella Academy. And why? And I feel like Umbrella Academy was something that had never shown up in my TikTok before. I'd never seen anything on it. And then suddenly like it was like just all about Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, same for me. It's not a show I would have ever anticipated to get that kind of like TikTok.
Like I know it's popular, but it was just odd for me. Like I feel like House of Dragons, I always see that stuff on TikTok, which I don't really care about because again, we don't really care about House of Dragons. No one's made a strong enough argument for us to watch it.
George R. R. Martin is making even more of an argument for us not to watch it. So
exactly.
Just throw
I've
that
actually
out there.
heard a lot of people say this season was like awful and that they like were in a stall pattern. And then somebody compared Matt Smith's character to like Arya and like the faceless storyline with the faceless man, whatever. And I hated that storyline on Game of Thrones because I felt like it dragged out. And I'm like, say no more. Now I really don't want to watch this.
So my understanding is the book this is based off of. One, it's just one book, and they're stretching it to 4 seasons. I think they said they're going to do.
I'm sure they're trying to milk that Game of Thrones
and
money.
2, that book was written almost more like a history book, not like a narrative book like the standard Game of Thrones books are. So. Boy, I can see some trouble brewing.
Let's circle back to Umbrella
Circle back
Academy.
to Umbrella Academy.
Circling
All right,
back.
all right.
I really enjoy the season. I think we're getting some like kind of callbacks. I am not entirely convinced on this, but I'm pretty sure that Jennifer incident, we have heard the OG Ben's death referred to as that before. And if not, then it just makes sense to me now. But I feel like we have. But I know for sure in the most recent episode that we watched, we've heard them say he was the best of us, but they would always kind of like talk about Ben and they would all say the same thing. And we didn't realize that it sounds so rehearsed and culty until they're hanging out with the new version of what is
Hargroves
or Hargreaves, whatever, like the dad, quote unquote. And they're wanting to know like, how did Ben actually die? Like obviously we have new Ben hanging out. We have some more context with Jennifer. I want Gene and Gene spinoff. With Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman. I feel like they told the two of them, like, hey, come in, just kind of act wacky, put your own spin on this role, and have fun with it. And I feel like that's exactly what they did. Now, that is a spoiler. I had seen them doing that little dance, and I was cool with that because I loved the two of them.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, out of context, it made news. Like, it didn't matter.
It still doesn't really make much sense to me in context.
Really.
Why were they randomly dancing like that?
You're right. It doesn't.
I feel really sad for Klaus. Because now,
I see.
He didn't want his powers back.
Again, I feel sad for everybody with the way, first of all, halfway through the season with only 3 episodes seems really strange. Like, I feel like we're just kind of getting started.
We're scratching the surface.
And knowing what's going to come to ultimately to conclude it, I feel like nobody's getting a satisfactory resolution to this stuff.
Can we talk about the missed opportunity to not air this during the holiday season?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Because it's taking place at Christmas. I basically got in episode 2 a Hallmark Christmas-like movie, but not. So they get to this little town that's clearly set up by Hargreaves people to keep the Jennifer girl a secret. And you and I were like, wow, this looks like a Hallmark movie. Like the little festival, the little hot chocolate shops. The only thing they did was that they made it look much more realistic. When snow is stuff on the ground, it just looks wet and miserable and disgusting. So they really gave us the disgusting part instead of that clean snow element. But I'm like, they really want us to know that it's Christmas time.
Very much so.
And I'm like, especially with that little scene, I'm like, why wasn't this dropped like during the holidays? Like drop it like around Thanksgiving or something, and maybe like take more time. I don't know.
You know how Netflix is with shows that they've just like, they knew this was the last season, so they just like to dump them and get rid of them.
I did like that we finally got to see some of the clips I've heard on TikTok in like context.
Yeah.
Like where Klaus is like yelling at everybody. He's like, daddy issues, daddy issues. And he's like, Lila, you actually seem very self-actualized.
Yeah,
And then-
I'd seen that one all over.
And then later she's like, he said I was the best one. So the whole Lila and Five thing, if I hadn't known that spoiler, and again, we're assuming that you guys listening to us know that we're spoiler podcast. If I hadn't seen that spoiler, I'd be like, why are these two having so many scenes together? And now that, because I know what's going to happen, I'm like, I see. They're like intentionally putting the two of them in a lot of scenes with just those two.
Yeah. You'd be suspicious by this point if you didn't
I
know
would
it
have
was
been.
about to
I would have been
happen.
like, okay, what is going on? But yeah, I really like the season. I think you and I talked about it, that we actually like this season so far better than the previous season where they were just in that hotel the whole time.
Yeah, and it wasn't that there was anything wrong with that season, but just like every scene felt the same because you know, they were just stuck in the hotel. There was no scenes out. It was very mundane, and I felt like it ended really weirdly as well.
And now we know where Ray is. The whole time I've been like, where's
Yeah.
Ray? Because Allison did all that stuff to get Ray back, and they found out that like Ray left, so that was disappointing. Because I was hoping we'd at least see his character again. It's just one of those things where even though we like this season better, I can't say that I've never disliked a season of The Umbrella Academy. It is the show that it comes on, I watch it, I really like it, I completely forget what happened to the season before, I get into it again, and the reason why we've taken so long is because we know the ending, and that's, again, probably why, well, that and our internet being out. I think we probably would have snuck another episode in on Sunday had we known.
I would say we would probably maybe even have finished it. If we had gotten to 5 episodes, we would have probably gotten to 6 episodes.
Try to wrap it up and see what happens.
But, yeah, we'll probably finish that. Well, maybe not this weekend. Who knows? We got a busy week this week, too. So
who knows? But in other shows.
Actually, before we get to other shows, we do have a fan mail.
Oh. Almost forgot.
Yep. So one of our friends from Parkersburg, West Virginia, show some love for West Virginia. Show recommendations. Tell Me Lies. They say that's on Hulu and Supercell on Netflix, just in case your content slows. Is Supercell how I'm supposed to say that?
I have no idea. I have not heard of that one, but I have heard about Tell Me Lies.
Am I being put over again? Am I saying that wrong and everybody's going to laugh at me? Like
I don't know.
Like some other things that people have done here.
What else have people laughed at you about?
Oh, our Instagram friend and his podcast name that I didn't realize was pronounced that way until I said it out loud for the first time.
And I knew that the whole time. Shout out if you're listening. Yeah, I've heard of Tell Me Lies. I've not heard of the other one, but we will definitely keep that in mind. But speaking of other shows on Hulu and I guess Disney Plus now,
it's very confusing.
Watched the second episode of Only Murders in the Building, and I just love this show so much. I just really do. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great show. I think I did see news. They got renewed for season 5.
Yes. I say just spectacular. Give me 14 more. Keep making it. Keep doing it.
As long as the actors all want to do it and they're happy to be there, just keep doing it.
Yeah. So we know that like Jan is out of prison. She parkoured her way out of prison. And she just like shows up, and Steve Martin, what's his character's name? Brazos. No, but like what's his actual name?
Oh, I don't know. Charles.
She shows up in his apartment, like, and at first we're like, is he hallucinating? Because he's been processing like Saz's death, and that, you know, he was likely the intended target,
right,
not her. So Charles is sort of trying to process everything while Mabel and Oliver are off to look for clues, and we get to meet the people across, the people that don't buy at this apartment, but they rent. So we get to meet a whole new cast of characters. And you get to see the way, like, Charles looks at them through the windows, but then the way that they're looking at Charles and everybody. And they've also obviously listened to the podcast, and they want to be included. And they're all really weird, I think that's with intent.
Yeah. Do you think any of them are the murderer?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I don't know. Well, we didn't
get to see one of the people that lived in the building. The ham in the bathroom was weird to me, though.
We didn't meet the Christmas guy either. Like, they didn't meet them.
Yes.
We saw him in the flashing around, but we didn't get to meet them. One thing, they were very weird on purpose.
Yeah.
And,
the pink eye, he's like,
the pink
and he keeps, like, moving his eye, and then, like, he's like, if I'm wearing an eye patch, because I keep getting pink eye, I'm like,
I also liked how they immediately removed Jan from the suspect list.
Yes, because I think she would have been like everybody's first choice. Now that doesn't mean they won't circle back to it, but she's kind of. We got to see the cops finally showed up, and it was basically like, "Why is it always you guys again involved in this?" Do you have any other like ideas? Who you think? Are you still going with Scott Bakula?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Scott Bakula at this point.
There was something that I asked you. Oh, I know what it is. I don't know if you put it in your notes while we were watching it. Well, Charles is calling 911 to officially report, what's going on, the crime. Because they're trying to figure out, like Oliver and Mabel were wanting him to order like this spray that you can figure out where the body was to pick up blood, and then they're investigating, and they're like, is this like an absolute emergency? And they're like, no, like you are, number blah 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 in line. And Oliver's like, look at our great city helping us out today, like talking about everybody's problems and emergencies in New York. And it's just like little quips like that, and like little bits of just dry humor that really sell this show to me.
Yeah, it's great. I like I said, I'm looking forward to the season. Do we know how many episodes there are? They usually do like 10 to 12 of this show.
I thought there was usually at least 10, so I don't know. I'd have to look it up right now to see.
Yeah, 2 episodes in, I just feel like is basically we're not even past the prologue of the season yet. Like we're just now starting to get like the police are involved, and so I'm excited to find out like all the different twists and turns they're going to throw us on.
And I think Mabel might be living on the other side of the apartment soon, because she made a comment when they were like sneaking into that one room, like, "Oh, this could be nice," because right now she doesn't have her place, and she's just been kind of crashing at Oliver's place.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Just keep giving me more seasons. It's so funny. And so far, this season, I'm liking even better than last season, because last season we kind of had them separated as a group a little bit more. And just the 3 of them together in each scene, each week, I just eagerly anticipate more and more. Anything else that you can think of to say?
Nope, nothing for me.
All right. So we do have one more thing we're going to talk about. We touched on it a little bit last week. And next week, a bunch of shows are coming back, including Dancing with the Stars. We have the official cast list. I think we talked about the rumors. Did we talk about the rumors last week?
I don't remember.
Well, we're going to talk about it again because it was officially unveiled on GMA. So now we know who is dancing with who, exactly what pros are back, and all of that. So I'm just going to go right down the list that I have on people. We have Super Bowl champion Danny Amendola with Whitney Carson, which, fun fact about Whitney, there was the rumor that one of the older pros would be returning. So my brain went to like Karina, Anna, like actual, like Max, actual old school OGs. I still think of Whitney as like a new pro, but I guess she's not. Her first,
no.
Like she won with Alfonso, who's now a host, and I think they won in like 2015 or something. And I'm like, wait a minute. So Whitney's the old pro returning? We saw him on Special Forces.
Yes. Season 1, right?
Yes, season 1. He was on the same season with Dwight Howard, Hannah Brown. I feel like he was all right on that show. He definitely had some tantrums. But I think that football players usually do pretty good on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, I think he'll do well.
Whitney's pretty good. He'll have Paige. Like he already had Gronk like doing a good luck wish to him. So
yeah,
sure
he's gonna have all those stinking
in.
Patriot fans listening to him or voting for him.
And then we also have, she is going to be competing, Anna Delvey, and her ankle bracelet, since she's like on house arrest. I guess ICE had to give her permission to compete, and she is with a new pro, Ezra. I've been wanting Ezra to be a pro for a really long time.
Can you explain to me on the record here who in the world this person is?
Okay, she's like, she did like wire transfers or something.
But why is she famous enough to get on Dancing with the Stars? They made like a
show about it.
So she did crimes.
I do not have time for this.
She did crime.
I do not have time for you.
So I want to make sure I'm clear. She did crime.
Supposedly.
We made a TV show about the crime she did, and now she's, in addition to, having an ankle bracelet and being house arrest, she's getting rewarded by being paid to go on a TV show.
I guess
so. We are rewarding her twice.
It was called Inventing Anna, was the show that she did. But I'm
just sitting here working a 9-to-5 job.
She's going to give some chaotic energy. Like, they asked her what she's most nervous about. She's like, the costumes. And then they were, I don't know, but I think Ezra is going to lean into it, and I'm probably going to vote for it because I want Ezra to last more than 1 week.
If they don't dance to the Jailhouse Rock, missed opportunity. The song.
I think Teresa already danced to that, right?
Oh.
One of the Real Housewives that was in jail. They need to do like, they already did something on TikTok about like money or something. I don't know. And we've got TV icon Tori Spelling with Pasha. I am so excited for Tori Spelling. Apparently she was asked for like the very first season ever of Dancing with the Stars, and she said no. And she has said no on other occasions, but she's finally ready to do it. And I think she's going to bring some chaotic energy, but I think Pasha's like the good partner to kind of tone down that chaos. And just, I'm going to vote for Tori too, at least in the beginning.
I mean, if she brings any of the weirdness that she brought to that one episode of her podcast that you keep clipping me on with
William
William Shatner and some of the conversations they had there, yeah, it's going to be weird.
I listened to her podcast, the 90210 OMG podcast, and I feel like that Jenny definitely keeps her in check. Jenny Garth, who also did Dancing with the Stars. Because when I've been listening to Tori's solo podcast, it is all over the place. But I'm excited. Maybe they should dance to the 90210 theme song if they're allowed. Da-na-na-na, na-na-na-na. And we have, as expected, The Bachelor, Joey Graziotti. I don't know how to say his name. And he is partnered with Jenna Johnson, who is back. I think that Joey will be one of our, from what I've seen, I think he's going to be one of our better bachelors. Like, the bachelorettes are always good. Bachelors, not so much. But I think he has a pretty good work ethic with his athletic background, and he seems more, like, he actually really seems into it. And he's very well liked in Bachelor Nation, but he might be having to split his votes, which I'll get into in a minute. NBA champion Dwight Howard and his partner is Daniela. Daniela also won with Iman Schubert, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Schubert, whatever. Who is also in the NBA and a very tall person. Daniela is, I believe, 5'2", but I can tell you right now, Dwight looks way taller than that guy.
Yeah, they were showing it on the on like the red carpet when they were showing it, or GMA or wherever it was. Boy, the height difference there. Okay, I understand that Danny is awesome, and I understand that she did win with Iman.
I think they're trying to create magic again.
Yeah, they could have went with somebody a little taller.
Yeah, they could have given him to one of the, like, Jenna is taller than Danny, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I really think they're like, let's create the magic again. Now, we've also seen Dwight on Special Forces. Yep. We saw him throw a tantrum on Special Forces. Do we think he will be good, put in the work ethic? What are your...
No, I think he will go out first half of the season.
I think his personality will be fun enough that people will give them votes, and people like Danny.
Yeah, I think they've got a big hurdle to get over with the height thing, and I don't think they're going to make it far enough to get to the dances that would show off like his ability to throw her around.
If they could just get to like contemporary or something, so they could just do some crazy
during
lifts.
The time when they can't do lifts.
It's going to be hard.
Listen, just the simple fact of dancing and staying in frame is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Because he could just accidentally pick her up just doing a turn.
It's going to be hard. And then we've got, she's listed as TV star Chandler Kinney with pro Brandon Armstrong.
Is it TV star with like air quotes around it? I've never heard of this person.
She is one of the Disney kids.
Okay.
And from what I have seen, I've sent you. Are you watching the TikToks I sent you?
No.
I think she could win. She can dance.
Okay.
So she can pull in the fan votes. I think if you're thinking about like a Rainer, like she has rhythm, she has moves.
I feel like you should have to be a big enough TV personality that Dancing with the Stars is not the biggest thing you've ever been on.
True. But I don't think that's necessarily the
Maybe
case.
I'm just an old man yells at cloud. I don't know.
I mean, you didn't know who Sochi was until last year, even though she had been in Doctor Strange.
I knew that she was in the Doctor Strange movie.
I had to tell you that.
I didn't know that was her name.
But I had to tell you that. I had to tell you who she was.
Because unlike you, I don't immediately watch any piece of media and then jump to IMDb and look up the name of every actor and their favorite restaurant and all this other stuff.
Anyways. Can I finish?
Please do.
Sometimes the Disney kids are cursed and get second. Like Zendaya got second. Yes, she was on Dancing with the Stars.
I completely forgot that.
A long time ago. Then we have Olympic rugby player. I still don't know how to pronounce her name because her sister wouldn't even tell me how to pronounce it right in a funny TikTok. Alana.
I think that's close enough.
Alana with Alan. I can never say Alan's last name right, so I'm not even going to bother. Alan won with Hannah Brown, who was also in Special Forces, which we've already talked about. She's going to be fun.
Yeah, she's got the personality that's going to take her far.
I don't know if she's going to have the dance skills, but these Olympians, these athletes, especially the Olympians, they have work ethic. And work ethic can take you far. And I think she's going to have fun with it. And I think Alan will hopefully be a good teacher for her. Then we have model and cover girl Brooke Snader. Never heard of her. And she is partnered with Gleb. I felt like on the GMA reveal, I sent you that video that they don't like each other, but they're definitely hooking up. Like, you know how each of them was doing little moves? Like, she did this thing where she, like, brushed his hand, like, off of her waist. And they've been making some TikToks, too. And Gleb is, like, finally single, I'm pretty sure. I think they are hooking up.
But that's it. It's like the Joey situation.
Did we have any
chemistry?
Yeah.
No.
Do I ever have chemistry with my co-stars? No. Next one, my personal favorite and who I hope wins the season, and I'm just not going to say his last name either, but Olympic gymnast Steven. And your friend
Pommel
Steve.
Horse guy.
Steve. And he is partnered with Riley Arnold. They've already been doing some fun TikToks. She already had him do his Rubik's Cube in like 2 seconds. How do people do that? I don't understand it.
I don't either.
I think he could be awkward, though. Like, everyone's assuming he's a ringer, but I could see him being, like, awkward.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
Like, can he dance? Will he take the glasses off to
It's
dance?
weird to say because he's, competed at such a high level in front of so many people, including on the TV, that he could be nervous to get on the dance floor. But I think, like, anybody who's competed at that level and had that amount of people in front of you, when you're competing at the thing you know how to do, you're able to block all that out. But when it's not the thing you do, I think I could see him having some severe nerves the first time he steps onto that ballroom.
And, like, I think Alana, like, can, just from her personality I've seen, I think she's going to, like, be able to do kind of the acting.
Yes, I agree.
I think she's going to lean in on that. And I could see him struggling with what some of previous athletes and Olympians have struggled with is, like, the acting part of it, not only nailing
Not just
steps.
having that determined face the whole time, but you actually got to smile.
But I think he's going to be fun. And I think they need to dance to Taylor Swift, Hey Steven. Please make that happen. Now, this other name, I don't even know how to say her name. Reality royalty Phaedra Parks with last year's champ, Val. I don't know who this is. Is she a housewife? I'm not sure.
So it says reality royalty.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have no idea.
I feel like I would know if the queen was on. So
not much to say about that. Val already won last year. I don't think he's going to win again this year. I'd be surprised. Then we have movie star, or as we know him recently from Suits, Eric Roberts with Britt Stewart. I'm not going to say too much on that. I think I was kind of hoping that Britt would not have gotten an older man or somebody with apparently questionable issues. That's all I'm going to say about Eric Roberts. According to Reddit, he has a questionable background, and she was with a person last year with a very similar. From what I've heard, I don't want to have any defamation suits against me. That's just what, according to Reddit, haven't done really much.
I don't think
research
they're
myself.
listening.
Hopefully there wasn't. But I do think it's kind of disappointing that Britt got another older person.
Yeah, I think what did it take you four attempts to finally stick in my mind who this guy was?
And you still ask me who he is. You're like, who is Eric Roberts? And I don't think he's known for a lot more than Suits. Then we have the Bachelorette surprise casting Jen Tran with Sasha. Sasha was just supposed to be in the troupe. He was going to be demoted this year. And then somehow Sasha goes from having probably the worst week of his life where he realizes, I'm not going to be a pro. I'm just going to be in the troupe. Still going to make the paycheck, but whatever. Just suddenly getting a Bachelorette. The Bachelorettes are always good. So basically, I didn't watch a ton of Jen's season this year. That's why we didn't talk about it too much on the pod. I think one of the main reasons why I didn't watch a lot of it was I hated the cast of men. I thought they were all trash and that they weren't going to be good for her. And I was right. She got royally screwed bad. I don't know what they were thinking. So here it was a last minute decision. We got to get this woman on Dancing with the Stars now. So then next thing you know, Sasha, who doesn't think he's going to be a pro, now has a Bachelorette, and they traditionally make the finals. So that's what I meant when I said Bachelor Nation votes might be split. Now, Joey is definitely, he's my favorite Bachelor we've had, so he is very well loved. But, the Bachelorettes are usually good at dancing, and she's going to get some sympathy votes.
If I had to guess, I would say of that voter base, they're going to skew towards her.
You really think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Just between the story, she's the Bachelorette, all
Yeah.
that stuff working against Joey. As much as you like him, I think those votes will skew her way.
They literally like finished up after the final rose. Was like, hey, you're gonna do Dancing with the Stars. Do you want to do Dancing with the Stars? She like goes to the airport. They meet Sasha, and then like they had to fly in for GMA. Like it was a whole crazy thing. So they have had, I think, like less rehearsal time. Obviously,
I like how on this show it's developed to the point where people who watch the show a lot are almost more excited to see who the dancer gets.
Yeah,
the
pros.
pro than the caring about the stars as
Yeah.
much until you get to once the show starts and you get to see personalities, then you start developing people you're rooting for, and it is one reason why it's a good show for somebody who's like on that mid tier to low, that B to C tier, even D tier celebrity. You can raise your profile very significantly by coming on the show, doing well, and showing that you've got a personality.
And speaking of personality, the final cast member this season is Reginald Vell Johnson, Carl Winslow, with Emma Slater, who is also back as a pro. And from my understanding, Emma was one of those that was on the fence. They weren't sure if they were going to bring her back in. And can I just say, I'm absolutely going to give him some votes early on. He's definitely our old guy this season, but also bringing in like the millennials, maybe some of the Xers that grew up watching Family Matters. Everybody's been like surprised at like how funny he's being in TikToks with her. I'm like, well, he is an actor who was on a show where Carl Winslow was famous for facial expressions.
He's also in Die Hard.
Yeah, as a cop in both shows. So I'm very excited for that. I think right now, though, if I had to choose, I definitely am Team Steven, and I think you are Team
Alana.
Alana,
Laura. We're going to say it different until the show starts and they tell us how it's supposed to be.
And then we'll probably still mispronounce it. Anything else we want to talk about this week?
I think that's all we've got this week. It's kind of like
we have been watching some New Girl, but since we basically talked about the season in full, we'll just wait.
We'll give you guys our season 6 thoughts.
We're in the Jess Robbie cringe part right now.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch.
Which just kind of put a halt in
Yeah,
our watching.
like
That's why we're watching Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, it was scooting along fine, and then Robbie and Jess
so
get together, and it's just like, ugh. I would have rather him stayed with Nadia.
Ooh, I do have to mention that WVU finally won. They beat Albany. Let's go Mountaineers! Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.